Welcome everyone to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, Emotional Awakening for Sensitive Souls, the 7-week journey to discover how to move through the stages of awakening as a sensitive soul, liberate your unique gifts, and activate the spiritual alchemy of your emotions. This is Nadira Ade, and it is my pleasure to be hosting this hour-long Q&A call for the Shift Network, where we will explore the teachings of Tree Franklyn and address questions about her upcoming 7-week course, Emotional Awakening for Sensitive Souls, which begins next Thursday, September 26th. Later, I will explain how you can participate in this course, even if you can't attend the live sessions. But first, I want to introduce our guest. Tree Franklyn is a co-author of the #1 best-selling Amazon book, 365 Ways to Connect with Your Soul, and founder of FindYourInnerHappy.com. With her whimsical muse, Stick Girl, she helps highly sensitive, introverted women manage their overwhelming emotions so they can use their sensitive traits to stop hiding and start creating the life they want. In just a few moments, we're going to open up for questions, but let me take a moment to welcome Tree, who is going to begin our call by leading us in an opening meditation. Tree, welcome to the call.
Hi, Nadira. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you're joining us today. So let's start before we even get into anything else. Let's just start by grounding ourselves. Some of you are joining in the afternoon if you're in the US, some of you in the evening, some of you in the morning, depending on which part of the world you're dialing in today. So some of you may have already had a full day and you might just be exhausted. Some of you are just starting your day and you have a long to-do list of things that you need to get done today. So let's just start by setting our intention to be here now, present in this very moment for the next hour or so. Let's try to forget everything that we have to do on our list. So we're just going to close our eyes for a little bit and we're just going to ground ourselves in our physical body in this physical place right here and right now. So let me start with leading the meditation into closing your eyes. I'm also going to close my eyes as well. We're just going to take a couple of deep breaths. If you feel like making noise during your breaths, feel free. It's always nice to make a noise in the exhale. Just sort of release your day. Anything that's come up throughout the day, anything that came up overnight, if you're just waking up, just breathe it out. Try to take some breaths from your abdomen instead of your chest. Feel your belly expanding and contracting. Couple more. You may or may not know how powerful you are, but your intentions that you set prior to anything and during the event is pretty powerful. So if you can set your intention for the next hour, whatever your intention personally may be, whether it's to learn, whether it's just to get grounded, whether it's just to experience, whatever your intention may be, let's at least set an intention to be present during the next hour and have an open mind as we breathe in and out. We're going to let go of the day, what's ahead of us, what's behind us, and just allow this hour to be for you. We rarely take time for our own self-care. So if you can allow this hour to be for you, your higher self, your inner self, that little girl, that little boy inside you, let this hour be for them. One more breath. When you're ready, open your eyes. Just give it a couple more seconds. Some of you like to stay there because we don't give ourselves that much time. Give it a couple more seconds and then we can begin. Okay. Nice to have you all here.
That was delicious. Thank you. I definitely needed that as well. We are going to take the rest of our time together to dive into questions for Tree as we prepare for her upcoming course, Emotional Awakening for Sensitive Souls, which begins next Thursday, September 26th. If at any time during this call you want to learn more about this 7-week course, please visit awakeningforsensitivesouls.com to see the full description. And now we're going to get started with questions. First off, if you have questions for our outstanding customer service department, you can contact the customer support team directly at support.theshiftnetwork.com. If you have questions for Tree, just type your questions in and I am happy to read them. And let's begin with the first one. This first question is from Sheikha, who says, I'm wondering about energetic cording. It feels different than just feeling energy. When someone wants your ear to vent, how do you keep healthy boundaries and not become apathetic?
That's a good question. I think a lot of us sensitives, we do become apathetic because it's too much. So we're either going for one end of the pendulum with getting way too much energy from them, and so we don't know what to do. We don't have the halfway medium ground. So we go to the opposite end, and we completely shut off. And neither of those feel good to us because that's not who we are. We're not apathetic people. We really do deeply care about people. So in terms of energy cording, sometimes we have energy cords that we don't even realize it from ancestors and people in our family or people from past lives. But let's just talk about right now in your specific example. If somebody is sharing something that is taking too much of your energy, there are a lot of techniques that you can do. First, the most important thing is always coming from a place of being centered in who you are and your own groundedness and standing firm in your energy. And I know that's not always easy, but it's a practice. We can get there. You can get to a point where you're almost always firm in who you are and anything can come at you and you're like, whatever, so what, and you're here to accept it and transmute it and receive it and give it back out in a positive way. But that does take time and that does take practice. So there are some techniques that you can do in the meantime, depending on where you are on your stage. I'm not sure where you are in your 4 stages of evolutionary growth, but if you're in the very beginning stages and just people's energy is just bombarding you and you don't know how to be there for a friend who's possibly hurting, I would say that there are a couple of techniques that are really simple and it's always there for you. So if you have feet and you have hands, then these are great exercises. I call it feel your feet or touch your tips. So if you're standing or if you're sitting, I would plant your feet firmly on the ground and physically put your energy onto your feet. So put your energy and your thought and your focus. While this person is talking, you can still hear them. Put your energy into your feet and feel firmly onto the ground. And I do that because the earth is such an amazing power. I mean, the earth has so much power and it's pretty incredible when you think about it. If the earth was like half a millisecond off, then everything would collide and so we would be dead. So the earth and the moon and the stars and everything is in perfect proximity to each other. So if you can use the power of the earth, which has a lot of wisdom and intelligence, and imagine that you, through your feet, you are borrowing the energy from the earth going into your feet so you can stand a little more firmly, and you're in a way borrowing the earth's energy, which is extremely powerful, and can override any other person's energy in front of you. So that's one tip I would call feel your feet. The other is your fingertips. Just touch your tips. You don't have to do it, in front of people. I'm just doing it here, so I'm showing you. But just touch your tips with your hand in your pocket or your hand down by your side or wherever your hands may be. Just touch your tip And it sort of roots yourself into yourself. You can look up hand mudras as well if it helps, Google it. But it roots yourself into yourself, and it helps you to stay grounded while this other person is sharing. I do want to say that a lot of times when we are witnessing and experiencing people who are sharing very sad things, we want to help them. Almost everybody wants to help, but we especially want to help them. The best way that you can help someone who is going through something very painful is simply be there for them, not trying to change, not trying to make them feel better, but simply just witness. Just stand there and sort of become a container for that space, for their sadness or sorrow or, whatever they may be going through. A lot of times, some people just need a witness to their pain. They just need somebody to be there instead of trying to fix it and telling them, look on the bright side. Sometimes they just need people to be there. And when you can be there as a witness without taking in their energy, remind yourself that you're just here to witness. You're not here to absorb. You're not here to be a sponge. You're just here to witness and allow yourself to witness what they're going through and hold their hand, put your hand on their shoulder, whatever it is that they need, but just simply witness and just be there as they cry or as they, whatever it is that they're doing, if they're feeling bad, just be there as a witness. And that will help you also when you put yourself in the witness seat. That helps you to not feel like you need to do something else or to help them or to fight away this energy that you don't want coming in. Just sort of step back from all of that and just witness what they're going through. And that's what I would suggest. It doesn't matter what stage you're on in the 4 stages, taking a witness seat on any of those stages are great.
Thank you so much. I love the touch your fingertips idea. It's very anchoring. This next question is from...
Okay. No, I was going to say that I used to walk around and people would think I was playing the air guitar or air piano or something because I would walk around and, doing that all the time. As a little kid, it just came to me, and I did that all the time. People were like, what do you play? Are you a piano player? And I'd say, no, I'm just playing with my fingers.
Yeah, it's very grounding. I like that. I'm going to keep that practice. This next question is from Jocelyn, who asks if you can please define what a sensitive is and what it means to be highly intuitive.
Yes. Hi, Jocelyn. So being a sensitive person, there's a term for a highly sensitive person, which is a scientific term that's been studied and researched. They've done brain research on a highly sensitive person, and basically their neurology is different. For a highly sensitive person, you sort of take in the world more. It's almost like the volume has been turned up in the world, and not just volume audibly, but everything is so much more intense. You feel things so much more intensely. You take in external stimuli a lot more intensely. It's called sensory processing sensitivity. That's a scientific term for it. And our sensory processing, we have sensitivity when we process sensories that are coming from external. So that's what a highly sensitive person is. Not everybody who's sensitive is highly sensitive. So there's that term for a highly sensitive person. There's also a sensitive person who may not exactly match the scientific description of a highly sensitive person. If you did brain research on them next to a highly sensitive person, it may not be the same. So they're not necessarily highly sensitive, but they're just sensitive. And sensitive, it depends on who's talking about sensitive. Some people think being sensitive is bad and it's weak. I think being sensitive is great. I think it's the warmth of the world. Like, I feel like we sensitives bring warmth and compassion and empathy and love and kindness to the world that when we look out there is not so loving and kind and compassionate. So I feel if you're not specifically scientifically a highly sensitive person, you could just be a sensitive person, which means that you're more sensitive to external stimuli, you're more sensitive to internal stimuli, your observation skills are more alert than a non-sensitive person. You see things in other people that maybe a non-sensitive person doesn't see. You probably have walked into a room and talked to somebody and you just feel something about their energy and maybe you don't like it. Whereas you're with your partner and they don't sense anything. They're just like, oh, that was a cool person. But you felt something. And that's what I feel being sensitive and intuitive is about. We sense something underlying what we physically see and hear and taste and smell, all of our five senses. And the other person next to us may not notice any of that. Or you might notice a slight movement in someone's facial gestures that the person next to you doesn't really notice. But just that slight movement, you kind of know that person is lying to you. There's just a sense. But if you were next to your partner again, or whoever, your friend, who is not sensitive, they wouldn't notice that. So that's what being sensitive. I think a lot of sensitives are very intuitive, and vice versa. A lot of intuitive people are very sensitive. And we can also, everybody's intuitive. We just don't all value that intuition. But I feel like everybody, no matter who they are on this planet Earth, has intuition. They just don't always listen to it, and they don't always click into it. A lot of people have learned to push that aside. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. Tiara would like to know any advice you have on being in a relationship as an empath or a highly sensitive person, especially when you are incredibly emotional. What is your advice on being your true self, but also not overwhelming your partner?
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're talking about being in a relationship with someone who is not an empath or sensitive as well, who may not get your emotional expressions. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. It is difficult. So my partner, my soulmate, is not an empath. He doesn't even understand what that word means. But I think in any relationship, whether you're sensitive or not, no matter what, whether you feel things deeply or not, any relationship has to have respect and communication. So a lot of times when I emote and express my emotions externally in front of my partner, he needs to know that I don't need him to fix me. And a lot of times our partners want to help us, right? I mean, hopefully they love us, they want to help us. So they see you crying and they don't want you to cry because they don't want you to hurt. They may not understand that for you, crying could be a release. It could be very helpful. And so you need to cry. Just, sometimes I just need 10 minutes and I just need to cry. And I'm like, just leave me alone for 10 minutes and I'll be fine when I come back out. I just need to release whatever it is, all this energy that's in there. So one, a lot of partners don't understand your emotions. They don't understand your sensitivity. A lot of men, especially in the Western world, even sensitive men, have been taught they need to push away those emotions. You're not supposed to feel emotions. In fact, the only emotion you're probably allowed to feel is anger for a man in the Western societies. And that's just a cultural thing. It's not true. I don't believe it's true. So the first thing is to explain to your partner, if he doesn't understand, why you need times to emote. Why you are overly emotional, if that's your case. Explain to them that's if you're a highly sensitive person, that's your neurology. That's how your body works. Like, you just feel things on a much deeper level. If you can explain that, this is why you're doing it, or this is why you're being this way. And one, you may not want to control it, which a lot of people think we should, but you explain to them that you don't want to control it. You want to be able to express yourself fully, no matter what you're feeling. And a lot of times we express ourselves to our partner. We share. I feel like we overshare with our partners because they may not need to know all the details. All you need to do is just say, hey, I need 10 minutes to cry, or to have a tantrum, or to beat up my pillow, or whatever it is you need, and then you'll be done. I think it's very important to explain to our partners why we're experiencing what we're experiencing, and how we need to tell them how best they can help. A lot of times people think that they don't want you to cry, they don't want you to be sad, so they're trying to get you to feel better, but it makes it worse. And then they get angry because they can't help you, and then they feel bad about themselves, and it's just this, it's a horrible continual loop. So the most important thing is communication and letting them know why you're feeling that way. And if you need a break, take your time to take that break and set your clear boundaries, because if you don't, you're only going to be resentful, and then it's just going to build and build and build. And, they'll notice. You can even say to them, there are times when I'm feeling a certain way and I don't want to talk to you during this time. If they don't accept that you need to be alone, for example, you can always put it this way. Look, there are times when I feel too many emotions, and when I'm feeling that way, I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't want to be disrespectful to you. So, because I love you so much and I always want to treat you with respect and honor you, and I don't want those moments to, come out. So what I need during those moments is to be alone for 5 minutes. And I just need to express myself in my bedroom or in the closet or wherever you need to go. And that way they'll think, it is kind of true, but they'll think that you're really going into the bedroom because you don't want to yell at them and disrespect them. They'll understand that, even though truthfully, that's part true. You don't want to disrespect them, but truthfully, you just need your time to just do your thing and emote and let go of those emotions in private. And so it doesn't hurt their feelings when you say to them, look, I really love you and I really value you. I want our communications to be of the utmost respect. And I don't want to snap at you or talk down to you. So when I'm in this place, I just want to move myself away so that it doesn't come out wrong. And then I don't regret things and I don't hurt you. And they understand that. I've done that with my boyfriend and he totally understands that. He's like, great, I don't want you to disrespect me either. Go to the closet. So hopefully that helps. But communication is key, regardless whether they're sensitive or not sensitive. Communicate, communicate, communicate.
Thank you very much. This next question is from Padma Shri, who says, I am currently training as a counseling therapist. One of the things I'd like to hear from you are the attitudes and practices you use before you will be working with a person or a group. Many of us in the helping professions have clearing practices between sessions with clients. What is your approach? Would you call it clearing or something else?
Hey, I know you. How are you? She emailed me this question. I asked her to ask it in the thing so that other people can benefit from it as well. So that's a great question. I'll just share an example. Hopefully, Nadira, I can talk about this, but just before this call, I had an emergency call for my stepdaughter and I had to step away. And I was sort of like in this, she went to the emergency room and I was like, what do I do? Do I cancel the call? What's going to happen? And so I was in this frenzy and they were trying to test our, the audio and the video, et cetera. And I had to leave to take the phone call. So in that moment, coming back, I was like, do I turn my phone off? What do I do? Very, very highly elevated, energetic anxiety state. And so if you have a call that you need to get on and you have to honor the people who have set time in their calendar, whether it's a coaching client or a group coaching or whoever it may be, and you need to still honor that time commitment that they've made in their energy, what you can do is the exercise that I did in the very beginning. We were planning on doing that anyway, but it turns out that I really needed it as well. So you can do the exercise with your coaching client or whoever it is that you're on with your group. Do just an intentional exercise just to put yourself and the other person. Most people, we lead busy lives. And so most people are rushing on. They're like, oh, it's 12 o'clock. I got to sign on to this call quickly. And then you're on the call and then you're like, oh, I'm doing 5 different things because some of you might still be at work and you're just sneaking this call. But it's always helpful to know that almost everybody is rushing to a call or has a life prior to this call that may be, something may be really pressing them at that time. And so I would take the time to meditate, take a moment to set the intention with your client, do it beforehand on your own, but you can also do it with your client as well. And the odds are that they're going to need some time to just anchor back in to themselves, because a lot of times we are not living from our anchored center, our core. We are just moving about life, doing one thing after the next, after the next, after the next, sort of in a rush, getting that over so we can hurry up and get the next thing over. And so we all need to anchor and we all need to center. And so I like to take my clients with me because it's a call. And so you're exchanging energy for an hour or however long your healing session is. You're exchanging energy. So both of you need to be centered. So I would definitely take your client with you through that centering process, which is what I did in the very beginning. And it could be just a couple of breaths. I definitely recommend closing your eyes so that you're not distracted by what's going on. Some of you might have a to-do list sitting right there next to the computer. So if you just close your eyes and you just start feeling your heartbeat, getting into that space where the next hour is not going to be about anything else except you exchanging energy with your client. You can also do some energy clearing work as well. So when we cleared out the day, just before when we started this call, we cleared out what was ahead of you, what was behind you. You just take inside, in your body as you're like breathing. You just imagine yourself breathing in positive nothingness is what I like to do. Breathe in absolute positive nothingness. There's no muck. It's not even oxygen. It's just positive nothingness that's going into my whole body. And then as you breathe out, you're breathing out all the tensions and the anxiety and the stress that you've been holding into your body. And that gets out. And then you breathe in again, nothingness. And that nothingness pushes out all the negative and the anxiety and anything else that may be going on. Do that with your client as well. Do that before the call if you have a few minutes. If not, do that with your client. Chances are they need energy clearing just as much as you do. It's a win-win situation. And if they don't, it doesn't matter because it's always nice to have more energy clearing anyway. So that's what I would do before a call with a client or a group coaching call or any other call interview that you may have. It always helps you to just focus on your intentions for the hour and to clear out any energy of the day and in the day coming and the day behind you.
Thank you very much. For anyone who is just joining us, we are here with Tree Franklyn, learning about her upcoming course, Emotional Awakening for Sensitive Souls, which begins next week on Thursday, September 26th. Please log on to awakeningforsensitivesouls.com for all of the details and to register. This next question is from Sue, who says, I've been feeling a subtle grief for the past several weeks. Do you have any suggestions around how to determine where this is coming from or how to handle it?
Yeah. The funny thing is people think I'm masochistic. I actually love grief. I don't know why, but when I feel grief, there's a certain sense of spirituality in it. I don't understand this feeling, but grief for me is bigger than who I am. And so when you're feeling grief, my take on any feeling, whether it's grief or anger, that may be coming from external, you don't have a reason for it. To me, once you feel it, it's yours. It doesn't matter where it may be coming from. I mean, we are such connected beings. We are all truly one. And I know it's cliche to say that, but once you actually know that in your bones, that we are truly one, you really can understand why you can feel grief and 20,000 miles across on the other side of the planet, there's maybe a baby dying or a mother who's lost a baby or something that you don't even know, but you're experiencing that grief. You could be experiencing the collective grief from the world because we really are one. I cannot stress that enough. So when you're feeling grief, instead of trying to figure out where it's coming from, it could just be a past life grief that something triggered it, you don't even know, something subconscious triggered it, and it just came up, some unresolved grief that you have in your past. It doesn't really matter because once you feel it, it's in your vessel, it's yours. You have to deal with it. You can't put it off onto someone else and say, oh, that's that person's grief. You can still feel it and witness it, allow it to flow through your vessel because, again, it's all energy. If you watch the free event, it's all energy. Everything is energy, no matter what the emotion is. It's all energy, and it just allow it to flow through. Grief, to me, touches what I call the transcendental plane, which is one of the infinite truths that we cover in this course. Grief touches and puts me immediately into that place away from this three-dimensional world. I don't know what it is about grief and sorrow, but both of those do that for me. They make me deeper. They pull me away from my physical reality and this denseness of this earth, and they put me into this transcendental dimension that we all know exists. We all know is around everywhere, but we don't always live in it. And we're not always conscious of it. So definitely, if you're feeling grief, I urge you to go deeper into that grief, not necessarily trying to figure out whose it is, because it could be anybody's that you don't even know. It could be past lives. So definitely just allow yourself to go deeper into that grief, sit with it and witness it and allow it to flow through you. And you may even, if you're a journaler, you may even ask in your journal, you may even ask, "Hi, grief, nice to see you. What's up today? What do you have to tell me today? Or what do you have to teach me today? Or what can I learn from you today? Or is there something you just want to tell me? Whether I learned from it or not, is there something you'd like to share?" And you can, talk to the grief and feel it and become friends with it rather than trying to figure out where it came from and trying to push it away. I think that's the most holistic way of dealing with any emotion that comes through you. We do cover that, by the way, in our in the course modules. We do cover journaling and talking to our emotions and figuring out why they're here.
That sounds really intriguing. Thank you so much. I feel like I want to take a moment and just be silent to sit with that. That was a beautiful response. Thank you. This next question is from Adela, who says, "I have heard that I give too much of my energy, and that's why I'm tired and fatigued. How can I change this? I feel so good giving to others, whether it's my love or my attention. What are some strategies to not give so much of my energy and thus not feel exhausted and tired all of the time?"
I'd like to start by asking, are you sure it's because you're giving so much of your energy that you're exhausted? Because if someone else told you you're giving too much of your energy and you're exhausted, that may or may not be true. So the question for you is, are you exhausted because you're giving too much energy? If you're actually, like you said, really enjoying the giving of yourself and your love, then I'm not sure that that is going to zap your energy, because believe it or not, we have unlimited energy. We really do. When we tap into our true source and potential, we have unlimited energy, no exhaustion, no tiredness. If you are fully giving of yourself from a place of joy, then you're not tired because of that. I might say that, and I don't know you, so I'm just making a guess, an intuitive feeling. I might say that you may be exhausted because you're absorbing other people's energy as you give away your own, if that makes any sense. So there are techniques, and we also cover in the module, there are techniques that you can learn to not absorb so much of people's energy, so that because let's say you're in a place of joy, and then 5 people walk by and they're all depressed, and you're a sensitive and empathic person and you don't yet know how to manage your own energy, you're going to take all of their depression into you, and that's going to mix in with your joy, and that's going to make you tired. So your own energy, if it's truly coming from a place of joy and giving and unconditional love, there will be no tiredness, there will be no exhaustion. If that's happening at the same time as 5 other people or all these other people are bringing their energies around and you're absorbing their energy, then I would say that's probably where you're getting tired. That might be what's throwing you off. I would not stop giving. I definitely would not stop giving. That's why we're here. We're here to serve. We're here to give. So if that's bringing you joy, don't stop it. If you are indeed absorbing other people's emotions, then we can talk about that. That's definitely something that you can work on and maintain your own energy and grounding yourself. And a couple of the grounding techniques that I mentioned earlier with feel your feet and touch your tips, those can definitely help you depending on what stage you are in your emotional evolution, to ground yourself and not take on and absorb other people's energy. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much. And actually, this next question feels like it's the natural follow-up to the answer that you were just giving, because this one is from Natalia. And she says, how can I tell if what I'm feeling at any given time is my stuff and feelings and emotions or someone else's? I struggle to differentiate most of the time. And if what I'm feeling is someone else's, what should I do with it? Transmute the energy and release it? Transmute it and send it back to where it came from, or send it back without transmuting it first? I don't want to interfere with someone else's growth by transmuting something that would be beneficial for them to feel and work through on their own. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I love that question. Thank you. I always transmute. Always. You cannot impart onto someone what they are not willing to receive. So whatever their soul's purpose is, for example, if they do need to experience a certain level of suffering, you can, you're not going to turn them into, like, from a suffering person to a person of joy suddenly, and they're going to miss out on all of those amazingly beautiful experiences they were put here to experience within their suffering. That's not going to happen. If that was their sole purpose, the best that is going to happen when you transmute their energy, and if you know how to do that, hey, kudos to you. I'm so happy and proud of you. If you know how to transmute their sorrow, for example, within yourself and turn it outwards into a more positive thing, the best that's going to happen to them, they're still going to experience what they have to experience within those experiences of sorrow, but it'll lighten their load a little bit. So if you've ever experienced being in a place of sorrow or grief or sadness or anything, and somebody just said maybe one word, whatever that one word or that one phrase, whatever it was, and it just made you feel a little better, just a little bit. You were still sad, but you just felt a little better. It just sort of like lightened things up. Maybe they took off like 10 pounds of emotional energy weight, and it just felt a little better. But you still have to go through your grieving process, whatever the experience is. You still have to go through it, but it just made it a little better. And so I think we do that also when we transmute energy. I don't think that we can ever completely take away from someone else's evolutionary journey by transmuting. If that was their part of their journey to completely do a 180 from suffering to joy, then you would have helped that. But if that was not part of their soul's purpose and their lesson for being here, the best that it could do for them is to give them a little bit of relief, even if it's only for a moment. Even if for a moment they're not suffocating and they're allowed to breathe, but their life problems are not going to go away just because you transmuted their energy. So they still have a path they still need to travel. And I'd love to think we're amazingly powerful, but we all are here on this planet, and we all are amazingly powerful, but we're not powerful enough to intrude into someone else's learning experience in this lifetime. I wish we were, because sometimes I just love to zap the hell out of people's sorrow and let them just be happy. But it's not part of the plan.
But that was a really helpful response. Thank you for that, because I think a lot of us have that concern when we're stepping into our awareness of our own power and the work that we're doing here together. So thank you for that. Rex says, teaching an old dog a new trick. I will be 75 years old in November. I've carried around a who I am story for over 60 years. It's been getting in my way. I want to know, will your approach or process work for me for the next 20 years?
Oh, Rex, thank you so much for being here. I love your name and I love your age. I love it. So we will cover this in the course extensively about our who I am stories. We're going to confront our stories. We're going, a lot of them are true. We're going to confront the true stories that we've created, and we're going to create new stories, better, more real stories. What I do want to say to you is yes. So what I will be teaching in this course is first recognizing your story. I'm so happy that you've recognized that you have a story, that it's a story, that it's not your identity. I mean, that's one of the biggest steps, to recognize that, oh, everything I've made up about this person, Rex, that's just a story. And so, but I'm not that person. Here's Rex right here, and here's the story. That awareness in and of itself is incredible. And that awareness in and of itself is enough to help a lot of people, like, boom, catapult into the next stage of their evolution. So definitely kudos to you. After 75 years, I'm not sure how long you've been carrying the story or recognize that it's a story. I really want to applaud you for recognizing that it's a story. Tree, me, I have my own story as well, and sometimes I get lost in it, even knowing what I know now. And so what I will teach you in this course is for sure, and it's the main one of the main themes of this course actually, is taking a witness seat to the story. And I call the story your cloak. It's almost like, putting on a sweater or a jacket when you leave the house. So you have this jacket on. When you come home, you just take off the jacket. No big deal. It's that easy to let go of your cloak, your story, your identity, your small self, your false self, whatever whatever you want to call it. Some people call it the false self or the little self. It's just a story. And so definitely we're going to talk a lot about that. And that's actually one of the things I'm most excited about, because when we can recognize that we're just wearing a cloak, and Tree and teacher and coach and empath and sensitive and female and all of these identities that I've put around my cloak of Tree is still in the very end just a cloak. And when this body passes, that cloak will be gone. Completely gone, and you'll be into your pure self. So what we're going to do is talk about our higher self and our true self, and we're going to allow you to put your story out in front of you and see all the places of where this story has affected your life. And then we're going to, of course, we're going to love it, because the story helps us move in this world, helps us move in this external world where people already have structures. And organizations. So we're going to put the story in front of us, and I'm going to love hearing your story, Rex. If you join the course, I really want to hear it. But we're going to take the story and we're going to love it to death, and then we're going to release it. And it's not going to be gone completely. You'll always have, as long as you're living in this lifetime in this body as Rex, you're always going to have that story. But the story doesn't need to affect you, and it could just be like a book on your shelf, where you don't really even think about it and it doesn't really affect you. It's just a story in a book on your shelf. It's not a big deal. But Rex is a pure soul who does not have that same story and is not bound by all the limitations of that story that he's told his whole life. So thank you for that question. I love that question.
Thank you so much. This next question is from an anonymous submission. And this person asks, do you have any tips for sensitives who work in sales or the service industry?
Oh, boy. It's funny. My stepdaughter, she's 16. She wants to be a nurse. And she just asked me yesterday, she said, people always ask me, how do I have the heart to be a nurse? And I said, she's tough. She's a really tough girl. And I said, you don't. That's probably how you're going to be a good nurse. And I was only kidding, of course. But I'm not sure in the service industry or sales especially, if you're in a, what's it called, a room where there's all those people talking and booths. And I'm not sure how I would survive in that place. It would definitely take a lot of work. And you also have people, if you're in sales, people calling and yelling at you if you're in customer service. So truly for that kind of a service, you definitely need to ground yourself. I would say from the moment you wake up in the morning, take some time for yourself. From the moment that you wake up in the morning, and every door that you need to pass through, every room. So for example, you wake up, you're going to go into the bathroom. Before you do, if you have a faith, regardless of what religion it is, if you have a faith, or if you believe in a source or a divinity or a higher power, whatever it is, something greater than yourself, every room that you step into, take a pause before you step through that door and just say, this, you go first. And you're letting Jesus go first, Buddha go first, God go first, whatever your faith is, it doesn't really matter. Higher power go for it first, divinity go first. Allow that being and that entity, and just in your mind, just take a pause and allow that entity to go first into that room. So if you wake up, you go to the bathroom. Before you go to the bathroom, allow that source of yours to go into the room. You leave, you step back into your bedroom, same thing. Take a moment to pause. You go to walk out your garage door, same thing. Before you exit to the garage to get to your car, same thing. Before you get into your car, take a moment, open the door, take a moment. Source, you're going before me and you're going to lead my day. And then you get into the car, drive to work, get out of your car, get into the elevator. We walk through so many doors in a day, we don't even realize it. And you can use these doors as anchors to help you ground yourself and remember who you are. We walk through so many doors, it's almost like every day you have maybe hour to walk through another door. Or in the morning, you probably walk through 5 doors before you even leave the house. And so these are just moments for you to remind yourself of who you are. And like Rex, we had talked about earlier, you're not your story. You're here to do Source's work. You're here to serve. So who can I serve today? Once you walk into the boiler room or wherever it is that you work, your cubicle or office, wherever it may be, hospital, before you step into the door, allow Source to go into there and ask Source, here, you lead the day for me. I'm here to serve. Show me who I can serve. And then you go through your day from a service perspective rather than, and I know sometimes we don't want to serve the people we're talking to. They might be yelling at you. But if you can look at each customer or each person that you're talking to in a how can I help you way and truly mean that. And it may not be how can I help you buy this product, but it may be from a deeper level. How can I help you just in this moment be a little better than you were, before you called me or before you walked into my office? How can I help you be a little happier, have a little less, what we were talking about earlier, taking that weight off of people? How can I help you take off a little bit of your weight? And you can see your job is that way, regardless of what it is. I see my job as that way. I'm in a service industry. And so no matter who I talk to, I want to serve. I want to make your life, even if it's better for just a split moment. You can look at it that way in no matter what industry that you're in. It's just a service industry and you're here to serve. And again, don't think of it as serving in a physical 3D world and what your specific job is, trying to fix a computer or sell them something. You're here to serve the soul of who they are. You're here to serve humanity as a whole. And by doing that, we make one person feel just a little bit better. So that's what I would do instead of trying to take in and protect yourself, put the energy out into service. Because when your focus is on service, you're not really thinking about, I'm going to take all this energy and somebody's yelling at me, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to take the focus off of ourselves and put it out there. And every time you walk through another door, it sort of reminds you to just take a moment for yourself. As you're allowing Source to walk through, you're taking a moment for yourself and you're allowing this bigger entity to sort of help you through the day, no matter what comes up. And do that all the way until you get home, even into your house. Sometimes we get home and we have family and we don't want to see them because they're going to create some havoc. So we do that even before we step into the house. And that's very helpful too, because it sort of when you put your focus on service onto the other person, and you also put the focus away from you by inviting Source, whatever it is your faith is, to lead the day, you don't have so much pressure to take in everything. Do you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense.
It definitely does. Thank you so much. We are going to have time for 1 or 2 more questions, but before we take those, I just want to mention Emotional Awakening for Sensitive Souls once more. This is going to be a deeply transformative 7-week journey under Tree's sensitive and inspiring guidance, where you will be transmuting challenging or overwhelming emotions into your authentic power. The 7-week course takes place on Thursdays at noon Pacific, starting Thursday, September 26th. And if for any reason you cannot join us live, you won't miss the teachings. You will receive all replays, transcripts, and all course handouts via your course homepage. Also, I'd like to remind you that we offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on our courses, giving a full 2 weeks, so until October 10th in this case, to make sure you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect via a private Facebook community group so you can stay connected with one another. And everyone who registers for the course will receive the Emotional Awakening for Sensitive Souls bonus collection, which include Manifesting Ritual for Sensitive Souls, how to use your sensitive and empathic traits to create your deepest desires, which is a video teaching. Then the number one reason you're not happy, which is a teaching, a PDF from Tree. And then Empaths, Sensitivity, and Depression, your questions answered, which is another video teaching from Tree. And Tree, can you say a little bit about what you are most looking forward to sharing on this upcoming course?
Yeah, I actually, so the 3 infinite truths that I'm going to talk about, we touched a little bit on it here, and also the 4 stages of emotional awakening. When we can understand where we are, it's really helpful to bring compassion to what may be happening in our lives and what maybe we went through in the past. I'm most excited because what I'm teaching here is it'll help every single problem and challenge that we have, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, whether it's just sensitivity, whether it's career, every single or whatever challenge that we have. My main theme of teaching is going to help in all of those areas. And so I've taught I've coached some clients before where we've really worked on emotions, and then suddenly they have other clients of their own and they're making 6 or 7 figures, which they've never made before. And so it just clears up, you work on one energy here and it just clears up all these other energies. So we're going to be working a lot on energy. And I think it's all around, it's helpful for your entire, whatever else is happening in your life. So you may be here because you want to know how to find your own freedom as an empath and how to find your meaning and purpose. But I guarantee that from doing this, all the other aspects of your life, your relationships, whether it's with a partner or with your family, your parents, or your sisters or your siblings or friends, relationships are going to get better. Finances are going to get better. And it's just because we've cleared certain stuck energies that allow room for other great energies and our natural energy to flow. So I'm most excited about that because we're really working on one element without having to focus on 5 million other things. And that one thing is really almost like the through line that clears off all the other stuck energies. I'm very excited about that. That has to go back to our cloak and our story.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited about this next question. It's an anonymous question, but this person has asked, and I think we all want to know, how does one live openly and with vulnerability and compassion without losing your energy?
Love it. It takes a lot of trust. And depending on which stage you're in, which we do go through in this course, if you're in identifier or survival mode, I have to say it's not going to happen like this overnight. It takes a lot of trust. And by by trust, what I mean is trust of the transcendental plane, of the source, of the divine energy, whatever it is that you may call it. I call it the transcendental plane and the divine. When you trust somebody, you don't automatically go in and trust them. Let's say a human being has wronged you before. It's hard to build that trust again. So they've wronged you and you don't suddenly okay, I trust you tomorrow, no big deal. We have discernment, which is great. We really need to exercise that power of discernment within us. And so it takes us time to build that trust. So in the same way that we can remain open and vulnerable, if you think about being vulnerable, you have to encompass the idea that nothing is going to hurt you, truly. Because if you're living from a place of fear, which is a lot of identifiers and survivors, if you're living from a place of fear, it's really hard to be vulnerable, of course. It makes total sense because things are being thrown at you and you're going to get hurt. So why open yourself up? So it does take a lot of practice and trust to get to that place where you may even realize at some point, if there's a person standing at you, yelling at you, and it's somebody you love, they're staring at you, yelling at you, I guarantee you can get to a point where this person, whether it's your partner or your parent or your child or your friend, this person or your boss is yelling at you, and you can actually be totally okay with their face right here. There is a way to be totally okay and remain open and vulnerable and strong. Not that you allow them to just beat you up, but open and vulnerable and strong within that space. And that takes a lot of practice, trusting the universe. And you do it in little ways, and when I say trust, what I don't want you to think is that you can give the universe a command and the universe will do it. And then you can say, okay, well, I'll trust you. A lot of times we say to the universe, I want $10,000 by the end of this month, or whatever it is. I want that job, universe, give it to me. And then the universe doesn't. And you're like, well, I trusted the universe, but it didn't give me what I want. We're not spoiled children. The universe is not going to just give us everything that we want. The universe will give us what's best for us. So when I'm talking about building trust, I'm not talking about doing that. I'm talking about letting go of your cloak and your story. And let's say somebody is yelling at you in your face, right? If you can be in that moment and not necessarily be completely open and vulnerable in that moment, but let's just say you can be in that moment and not get too overwhelmed and absorb their energy. You can just sit there and be, let's say, 10% less than your reaction from what you would have done a year ago. That's better. That's progress. If you can continue to do that and use your life experiences every single day, whatever comes up in the day, somebody cuts you off on the freeway, or all of those little experiences, if you can use those little experiences as practice for remaining open and being the witness and just allowing this, you step back from yourself, just what I was talking about Rex earlier. We step back into the seat of the witness and allow what's happening in front of us to unfold. You will start to feel the strength from your soul. You will start to feel this power within you that is not related to anything that's happening outside of you. And so it does take practice. It also depends on which stage you are in the 4 stages. And that's why we go over that in the course, so that you can understand, well, if you're in identifier mode and you're living from a place of fear, that may be, something that you could look forward to, but don't beat yourself up if you don't feel that tomorrow, because it's a process. And with each deepening exercise that we do in the course, we will get there, but it's a process. We're not going to learn it all in 5 minutes and then be done. It's a process. And I guarantee you are probably more open and vulnerable today than maybe you were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. It's a process, and I'm sure you've been working on yourself on that. But definitely it takes trust and just allowing yourself to be where you are right now, even though you want to be more open. You are where you are right now, and accepting and loving that part of yourself and knowing that you will get there. It's just a matter of using your life experiences and being committed to that process.
Now I'm really, really excited about the invitation and the work of the course. Yes, thank you for that beautiful response. This has been such a lovely hour with you, Tree, and such a pleasure to get to sit with you and to deliver these questions and hear your answers. Thank you to everyone for being with us. And again, Tree, for sharing your wisdom and your teachings with all of us on the call today. Emotional Awakening for Sensitive Souls starts next week, Thursday, September 26th. And again, please visit awakeningforsensitivesouls.com to learn more or to register. Tree, do you have any final words that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be working in this group capacity. I rarely ever do live group teachings and calls. So to be able to, I've been working one-on-one for a very long time privately. So to be able to do this on a group level and reach more people and help more people to grow and evolve and find their own freedom, I'm super excited about that. Because I rarely do it, I'm really excited about it. So hopefully somebody else is excited about it as well. To be able to have this one-on-one time, and I know that we're going to have breakout groups as well. So be able to have those smaller, intimate groups where I can really work with people on a much grander scale than I've been able to, when I work one-on-one with my private clients. That's very exciting to me. So I hope that you guys take advantage of that, because I'm not sure when I'm going to be doing live courses after this, but it's very exciting for now. And I'm really looking forward to the next 7 weeks of helping people get to a place of total empowerment and meaning and purpose, and no longer living in fear.
Yes, yes, to all of us who are sensitive and feeling the world at all the time. We definitely need this. Thank you. Thank you again, Tree. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. And on behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well and look forward to having you on this course or on another one in the future. Take care.